Hey, let's talk about minding your P's and Q's. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, also known as Pajama Grandma. And I love to talk about an idiom or an expression every day. I started it a while ago just for the fun of it because it opens my mind and it gets me thinking about what things mean and things that affect us and things that affect the people that we work with and the people in our lives all the time, even us, that we don't necessarily think about or realize. They just are kind of on autopilot. So it's a way of consciously thinking about things that impact us, understanding why they might impact us, and whether we want to continue to let them have an effect on us or not, because it's always up to us whether we want to let these things play out in our business, play out in our relationships, play out in our life. So what does minding your P's and Q's mean? It means to be extremely exact. It means to pay attention to the details of something. It means to be on your best behavior, to mind your manners so that you don't do anything or say anything wrong. It means to just basically fly straight, mind your manners. Now, for some of us, I mind my manners, but I'm a rule breaker. So this one kind of cracks me up because the attention to detail used to be very important to me. But as I've had challenges throughout my life, I've really backed off on stuff that just doesn't freaking matter. I used to be one of those grammar police that paid attention to every mistake or everything that was wrong and made sure I had to point it out, not always to people, but sometimes to people so that they would know and they could, be better, right? How crappy is that? And how unnecessary, right? We know when we make mistakes. And as my vision has gotten interesting, I noticed that once in a while stuff gets by me with the typo and I just have to live with it because it just doesn't matter. It's the message that matters. Now, some people will judge and think, nope, you got to be exact. If you use the wrong word, if you make a misspelling, if you have the wrong character in a letter, it makes the word wrong and I have to think about what the word should be, then I'm not going to listen to you because you don't have anything of value to say. Well, okay, see you later. So minding your P's and Q's, where does this even come from? There's 3 different theories that are really popular. It's been around since the 1600s. So again, anything, any saying, any word, any expression that we've used regularly as a human race for centuries is bound to have an impact on our thinking, on our feelings, and on our beliefs and our thoughts, right? So we should pay attention to it and think about how might this affect my ability to grow and build my business. So mind your P's and Q's. When kids are learning to spell or learning the alphabet, the letter P and the letter Q look very much alike. So kids have to be careful when they're learning and using those letters to differentiate between the letter P and the letter Q. So that might be where the expression came from. It also might be from the English pubs of the olden days where they had blackboards up and they would tally and keep track of how many pints or how many quarts a person consumed so that they could pay for them later. And another theory is that it came from the French dance arena where, I'm going to probably not pronounce these right, but peds and cuillers or cues, peds and cues, I'll call them, were specific dance steps that a dance instructor would have to be careful to teach their dance students. Now, where it comes from, it doesn't really matter, but it makes it interesting. And maybe it came from all 3 or a combination of those and other meanings that make this saying really, really popular and that why it's stuck with us for centuries. But minding our P's and Q's, what does this mean to growing our business? What do we need to mind our P's and Q's about? What do we have to be careful about? What do we have to be extremely exact about? What do we need to pay attention to? What do we need to mind our manners at? What do we need to make sure that we don't do or say the wrong thing? Now, wrong is always relative, right? What's wrong to you might be perfectly right or fine to me. So doing and saying the wrong thing, that is so subjective. It's totally up to you and for you to define in your business and in your culture. But paying attention to level of details will depend on the urgency and the importance of the particular task at hand. When I'm doing precision machining and I'm concerned about the quality of that in a manufacturing environment, say a automotive industry, I'm going to have to be very cognizant of making sure that the tolerances of that process are within an acceptable range. And that range is going to be super tight compared to baked goods and when I worked in a bakery. So things like manufacturing tolerances are different, but the amount of detail that you have to, or the amount of attention you have to pay to them, minding your P's and Q's, is going to vary depending on, I would say, the urgency and the, I want to say, risk to human beings. Because as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to following regulations and rules and good practices in the food industry or in cosmetics and anything that's going to touch and go inside human beings, I don't think there's any tolerance for that. You can't mess that up. You can't make mistakes on that. But that's me. I've seen a lot of food manufacturers that just didn't care and didn't necessarily follow good manufacturing practices or guidelines. But things where people are in danger, child endangerment, cars and automobiles where you could kill a lot of people or people could die, anything like that, you need to mind your P's and Q's and you need to pay attention to what you're doing and then also the result. But the level of detail will be determined by the task at hand. Same thing is true of minding our manners. The way you behave in certain situations will be determined by the event, by the situation. You behave differently at a party and a social event than you do at a industry conference for your particular business or industry, or than you do in a board meeting versus a weekly staff meeting just with your staff. Now, hopefully you behave appropriately to the environment all the time, but those behaviors are going to be different based on the situation. I'm a big believer in being cognizant of your surroundings, pay attention, mind your P's and Q's, meaning be aware of your surroundings, and then matching your behavior and your response to the situation, right? Hello? It's called human behavior. But making sure that that matches. And this holds true of everything. Our customer interaction, how we interact with our customers, how we interact with our prospects or future customers will be determined by the products and services that we offer. A person that is a medical doctor is usually a lot more serious than somebody who's selling candy at a candy store. So how we treat our customers or our patients is going to be very different based on the situation. We need to pay attention to that. We need to be social. I guess it's etiquette. It's social etiquette nowadays online, but it's just how we interact with human beings is etiquette. And how do we choose that to be? We need to pay attention to that. So that's it. That's my little thoughts on minding your P's and Q's. I would love to hear what you think about this. I know I've definitely used this expression with people that I've worked with before. I totally use it with my kids. I would say fly straight or mind your P's or Q's or pay attention to this or look at this because this is really important and you can ignore this because that's not really very important. Or sometimes it's in how we delegate. We delegate based on how important it is for the person we're delegating to mind their P's and Q's. How much detail do they need to get the result that we want based on the job that we're doing? You know, some people micromanage. I'm sure I was much more of a micromanager when I was younger. And now I'm like, nope, here's the results I want. Figure out how to get it in this amount of time and I'm cool. And then, you know, I don't care really how you do it. Now, morally and ethically, I do care how you do it, but I don't attract people to me or work with people that don't have the same core values as me. So that's kind of a given. So go out today, mind your P's and Q's, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. Take care. Bye.